I actually disagree with the vast majority of advice on how to connect with your intuition. You do not need borderline psychic abilities. You don't even need to meditate. You don't need to meditate at all. You don't need to go for walks in nature. You don't need to do any of those things. You really don't. Your intuition is simply what you feel like doing. That is it. It's crazy. Intuition. Following your intuition. Living life guided by your intuition. People, especially in the spiritual community, obviously, kind of talk about the concept of intuition a lot, and the goal is to follow your intuition and basically make decisions after listening to your intuition, because they're said to be the best kinds of decisions, most in alignment with your soul, most in alignment with everything. But, well, this video is going to talk about what that actually means. And why I'm making a video about this is because I kind of got a controversial opinion about this. I actually disagree with the vast majority of advice on how to connect with your intuition. Now, this is because of my background. So I've been on this spiritual journey for about, and this is going to help me keep track of what I'm talking about, but I've been on this spiritual journey for about 3 years now. And when I started, there was... me and my intuition were not on speaking terms. I had no access to it whatsoever. I was a people pleaser. I was often swayed by environments and other people's opinions, and I didn't really have a strong sense of self at all. I didn't know what I wanted, I forgot what I was passionate about, and I didn't know what the right decision was for me. And by that time, I had created a life for myself that I didn't resonate with at all, and so that just caused extra confusion for me. And then I was kind of starting my spiritual journey and thrust into the advice of intuition and following your intuition, how to even connect to that so you can make these decisions in your life guided by it. But the advice for it was extremely unhelpful, to say the least. And in this video, I'm going to be telling you what intuition really is and how to actually connect with your intuition. And it's not all this, and it doesn't require almost borderline psychic ability. My experience of listening to my intuition, connecting with myself, and listening to that inner voice has been a long and difficult one. And for so long, it was incredibly isolating and frustrating to try connect to it in any way. And that is because of kind of what the advice is nowadays. Now I'm going to read you kind of a paragraph that describes in a nutshell how we think of intuition in the spiritual community nowadays. Like I said, I disagree with this completely, but here you go. To connect with your intuition, practice, above all, meditation and mindfulness. These are essential for quieting the mental clutter. Pay attention to your body's physical sensations and gut feelings. Do body testing, and you know the sway test, that's recommended a lot, where you sway forwards for yes, sway backwards for no. Journal about your thoughts and emotions, and consider using divination tools like tarot or oracle cards for guidance. Spend time in nature, of course. Walk barefoot and practice solitude to turn down the noise of the world. Listen for that still, small voice. Trust your split-second gut reactions, and notice the signs and synchronicities, and of course, interpret them. So that's how to connect with your intuition according to everyone. To me, that sounds extremely kind of convoluted and complicated. And look, it's all well and good if you are coming from a space where you have a stronger sense of self, where you do know what you want, where you do know what you like, where the noise inside your head isn't that loud, where you can almost be with other people and still feel a sense of self and not immediately kind of chameleon. Like if you're that, then I feel like you could do these practices. But from the space where I was, no, there was no way I could meditate and find this inner voice. There was no way. I'd be overthinking the hell out of it. There was no way I'd be able to do that. I would certainly not be able to walk in nature and then suddenly hear this voice either. I wouldn't be able to do body testing. And I tried all these things too. That's why it was super frustrating. Body testing too. There's no way I would not overthink the swaying. There's too much interference that my mind could have on that. There is no way I would be able to trust what I hear in meditation, what insight I get on a walk, whether the sway of my body testing. There's no way I'd be able to trust that. And I would still feel super confused. And so it's really annoying that the people who need to connect with their intuition the most, the people most disconnected to it, this advice is inaccessible for them. They can't meditate, they can't do all these things. They're that disconnected that they don't even know what they want. How are they supposed to meditate and like sort through and then hear this quiet voice, and recognize that must be their intuition? How are they supposed to do that? It's not going to happen. And it really didn't happen for me. And so I kind of basically gave up. But the reason this video is titled, I accidentally discovered how to follow my intuition, was because I didn't try to learn this. In the first year of my spiritual journey, I almost accidentally, through a process of trial and error, figured out how to make the right steps that happened to be guided by intuition. But I didn't know that that's what I was learning, and only in hindsight do I recognize now, okay, no, I was learning how to live intuitively, and right now, the version of me that sits before you today has very much mastered the art. I feel like I really came from sucking at it so bad, well below average. I mean, really, I didn't have any idea, to being better than the people who give average advice on how to connect to your intuition. And I say that because I truly believe that their advice is only a small part of the picture of intuition. And they're missing the meat and potatoes of it. And it's the meat and potatoes that I stumbled into that first year of my spiritual journey, and that's what I want to share with you in today's video. So please stick around, because I feel like this is one of the most important learnings I ever gained throughout my whole spiritual journey, and it's my way of life now. So what I was doing in that first year of my spiritual journey is I had the goal of basically developing psychic abilities, and to some extent that is still my goal. But at the time, my approach to that was just throwing everything at the wall and seeing what stuck. So I went to every psychic circle, I went to every Reiki circle, I tried a bunch of courses, all these different kinds, and I was just trying to, learn and get something out of it. I was approaching my spiritual journey like a school curriculum. It was entirely calculated by the mind, I was thinking, that's probably gonna help me, I should do that, or according to my calculations, yeah, this is the best move. I was entirely mentally going about it. That changed over time as I came to the realization that, spirituality is not just the direct spiritual practices in your life. It's not just meditation, it's not just, obviously spiritual things that you think about. Spirituality and a spiritual journey is really about coming into alignment in all aspects of your life. So it becomes about general well-being of you, and the more you experience and the more you improve your well-being, the more spiritual alignment you become. So it shifted from just going to psychic circles, Reiki, all that stuff, to trying to become happier in my life in general. And so then I started approaching that like a school curriculum though. When I would see something in my life that I wanted to improve, whether it was something, and it was usually just mundane stuff as it is, like wanting to exercise more, or wanting to change what I was eating for the better, or have a certain lifestyle. I would approach that and kind of go towards that and have goals that I reckon that was entirely mental calculations. I had goals that were what I thought would be good for me. And I was going about it in a way that logically is the best way, like A, B, C, D. The thing is, I really couldn't get away with that. I could kind of before I started my spiritual journey, not that it ever worked out really, but like, man, it was so obvious when I committed to spirituality and my spiritual kind of goal for enlightenment essentially, that I was getting nowhere with these efforts. It felt like I was swimming upstream, like I would just be hitting dead ends, and it felt like I was always forcing myself to do something. There would be no flow. It's like I was just, what am I doing wrong? And so the only time I could ever progress was if I took the right step forward. And over time, I began to see the pattern of what these right steps were. And it did not look like doing what I thought I should do. It absolutely did not look like that. So I learned how to live intuitively because I was almost pushed in a corner to do so. Nothing else worked. It's not like I even wanted, like I wasn't trying to learn how to do this, but there was no other way to move forward than to take a step that was in alignment with me. And that's how I saw the pattern of what is in alignment for you, where you can experience flow, like when it does work out and you can reap the rewards for it, what kind of decision that is, what kind of move is that, what is involved. And so what I noticed was that the only time where it did flow, where I did have natural motivation, natural inspiration, where it continued and evolved, and it was like I would reap rewards from it, and it didn't feel like a dead end, and it didn't feel like I was swimming upstream, and it felt like the universe was on my side. The only time that would happen, I noticed, is when I would do things that I felt like doing. Not things I thought I should do, not things that I wanted to want to do, no, things that I genuinely felt like. And it was sometimes the most mundane things, like resting, wanting to rest more. It was the complete opposite of navigating from the mind. It felt like the only time things would flow was when I was making decisions based on the heart, which had absolutely nothing to do with what I thought I should do. Nothing. And that's what I came to realize, is that, and other spiritual traditions talk about this, but the mind has absolutely no business in navigating your life for you. It has no business deciding what moves you should make in life, deciding which direction you should head in life. It has no business doing that. It is an amazing tool, but it's used for different things. It is not used for navigating your life experience. That's why there's that quote, follow your heart. It's not follow your mind, but everyone follows their mind. I follow their mind. Everyone's taught to follow their minds, but that's because everyone's parents were taught that as well. You know, we don't even understand the way humans are supposed to move through life, and that's what I actually accidentally stumbled upon. I reached a kind of turning point where I had the paradigm shift between the way I was moving through life, which wasn't intuitive at all, into the way of moving through life that had intuition and intuitively guided decisions at the top as the priority. And it was because by then, obviously, I had experienced a lot of, man, this is not working out. Anytime I think I should do something and I think, oh, that's a great idea, and I do it, it doesn't work out. It feels like I'm forcing something. But there were a few times where I did kind of like almost surrender, and because I was starting to suspect something, and I would kind of do what I felt like doing, which often was completely irrelevant. I thought, my mind was like, that's got nothing to do with your goal. That's got nothing to do with what you want. Why are we doing this right now? And that's why we don't do what we feel like a lot of the time, because it doesn't look like what we should do. Because it's oftentimes looks irrelevant, or we've got so many logical kind of excuses as to why that's not a good idea. And so we dismiss it. but I would follow them sometimes almost like an experiment, and I would notice, wow, this is what I want. This is flowing, this is easy. There's evolution and expansion coming from it that didn't happen with the other things. It would just hit a dead end. And by evolution and expansion, I mean it would evolve into something else. So say I felt like starting a meetup, that would evolve into starting an Instagram, and that would evolve, like that's just an example, but there's an evolution there. Whereas with doing what you think you should do, it's just kind of like you're fighting against the universe, and there's just nothing. There's just nothing at the end of that tunnel. And it's really disheartening. Well, first, let me describe how intuition actually shows up. So this is probably, I guess, the point of the video. It's good news and bad news. Good news is that it is accessible for everyone. You do not need borderline psychic abilities. You don't even need to meditate. You don't need to meditate at all. You don't need to go for walks in nature. You don't need to do any of those things. You really don't. And any Joe on the street can do this. It is so simple. It sounds like a trick question. I couldn't even believe it when I first stumbled upon that realization, where then I had the paradigm shift where I was like, wow, it really is just what I feel like doing. And that's what it is. Your intuition is simply what you feel like doing. That is it. It's crazy. like it's simply what you want to do. And the thing is, it's anything you can describe with this language. When you say the words, oh, I've been feeling like blah, blah, blah. Or, I've been wanting to, or, I've been feeling like a strange, desire to blah, blah, blah. Like, whenever you use that language, whatever that blah, blah, blah is, that's your intuition saying, do this. And the thing is, you have a way of saying that in all languages. So even if you're really in a state of huge confusion like I was, even if you have no sense of self and you really struggle to identify what you like and want, you can and do still, despite that, use the language of, oh yeah, I feel like resting. Oh, I feel like socializing more. I just don't like that I'm like staying at home all the time. It makes me feel a certain way. I just feel like I want to kind of get out more. Or I knew someone who had, who said like, I don't know why, but I've been feeling like refurbishing furniture. It's really strange, but I've just been feeling like doing that for the past couple months. Like whenever I see furniture on the side of the road, I just feel like taking it home and like fixing it up. And then what most people do though, with those intuitions, those are callings, okay? What you feel like doing is your intuition saying this way. But because it's so simple, because it's so simple and unassuming, we dismiss it all the time. And the people who advise you on how to connect with your intuition, they'd also dismiss that a lot of the time. Because if they think intuition is accessed through meditation, through nature walks, through that, and they don't know intuition primarily shows up as basically what you feel like doing, then if they dismiss that, they are not living according to their intuition. They're living this much when they, not even close to how much they could. Not even close. I wouldn't even say they are, because that's the meat and potatoes. It's so easy to dismiss though, because of how unassuming it is, because of how much of okay, so what, I want to refurbish furniture. Like, what does that have to do with any of my goals? What does that have to do with, that sounds like a waste of time. See, your mind just goes it doesn't understand. But this is what you need to understand. You just have to trust that it doesn't matter why, in a way, that's what you feel like doing, but it is what you want to do. It is. You have to understand that whenever you get those things, and you have multiple of them at all times, right? You feel like doing multiple kind of things, not just in one area. But whenever you get that, you have to understand that's your intuition saying this way. That's your emotional guidance system pointing you in a direction that will take you towards your expansion, towards your healing, and towards your deepest desires. Don't dismiss it and think it's unimportant. I hope at least at what you get out of this video is understanding the significance of those feelings, the significance of what you feel like doing. And when we talk about feelings, we're not talking about emotions in that sense. When we say I feel like taking up a sport, we're not talking about emotions. We're talking about a calling. We're talking about intuition, okay? And if you take anything out of this video, I want you to understand the significance of those callings, okay? That is your intuition showing you the path towards everything you want. And you don't have to mentally understand why that is the way, because honestly, we can't actually understand why. Our mind can't really comprehend. And that's not what our mind was ever for. Our mind isn't supposed to navigate our lives. Our heart is, our intuition is, our soul is. Recognize the significance of those callings, take them seriously, and prioritize them. That is the way, that is the path. Forget everything else. And that's the paradigm shift. That's the paradigm shift between living according to your mind, living according to what you think you should do, living according to what you want to do, and living according to just what you feel like doing and what you want in the present. They're completely different. And they often look completely different because they look like they're going in completely different directions, which can make you a bit confused. But the good news is, right, there's bad news, good news. The good news is that it actually feels good doing what you feel like doing. I mean, obviously, duh, but I mean it. Like, even though mentally it doesn't make any sense, it actually, if you do it, you feel relief, you feel joy, like you feel like it feels good to do. So that's a plus. And I just said joy then. So what I'm talking about here really aligns with the spiritual concept of follow your joy. And I suggest you look that up. And at the description box in this video, I'm going to have other relevant videos to this topic that I really recommend and concepts. So if you want to learn more about this, I suggest you look in the description box and check out those other resources. But yeah, this is following your joy, and following your joy in all spiritual traditions have been widely recognized as being the way you're supposed to navigate life. This is actually how we as humans are supposed to live this human experience. We're supposed to kind of emotionally be kind of drawn and called to things because it's what we want. It's what we feel like. So of course, naturally, we should go in the direction of that. Versus when we do things we think we should do, we do it because we think at the end of it, calculating, we do it because we think at the end of it we'll get something we want and then we'll feel good. Or instead of that, you can just feel good. You can just go in the direction of what you want, and you just have to get over the fact that it doesn't look like what you want, right? And you pay attention to it based on what you feel like in the present. It is always about the present. The mind, when it thinks about what it should do, it's living in the future. It doesn't take into account anything about how you're kind of currently feeling in a way. Your intuition is calibrated to the present version of yourself, and it's always pointing. It's like a compass, constantly recalibrating itself based on who you are in that moment. And this is where I'm going to get into the specifics of how it specifically works, because now we know it is what we feel like doing. Okay, that's what our intuition is. It is not something you need to access through meditation. It's not that, okay? It's what we feel like doing. If we compare emotions and then feelings, like I've separated the two here conceptually. So emotions are like sadness, happiness, dread, like those kind of emotions, and they can throughout the day fluctuate, you know. And then there's feelings with a capital F. Like feelings are what you describe like with the language. Oh, I've been feeling like refurbishing furniture. Oh, I've been feeling like going out more. You know, I've been really feeling like traveling to this one country, you know. Those feelings are more like a whale song, right? They are a lot slower to change. Whereas emotions, they fluctuate throughout the day. They're more like a bird song. Chirp, 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 chirp. There's no kind of almost consistency really to it. That's not where your intuition necessarily shows up, how I understand it. It's best conceptualized if you think of a whale song, in that if you notice, even if you have these fluctuating emotions, you still feel like going to a trip to that country, if that, for example. It's more like a whale song in that there's a consistency to it, even as throughout the days, as fluctuating emotions and things happens, you can still, like for months at a time, have the same calling. However, they do end. Not all of them, like there are exceptions. There are some feelings that things you felt like doing for years, for your whole life, and you still haven't done them. But there are ones that are just gonna stay with you until you die. But more often, more commonly, feelings, they last about a couple months, right? They're a lot kind of slower to change, because even if you don't act on them, and most people don't because they're not living in this paradigm, even if you don't act on them, you are still changing as a person. And so naturally, either that opportunity expires or something else would be the best path for you. Like I said, intuition is constantly recalibrating to who you are in the present. So you do kind of change. And so it's always like, from where you are now, what's the best and quickest way to what you want? So it's constantly recalibrating itself. And it lasts a couple months, and you'll notice that. And so metaphorically, I like to think of it like a plant in a pot. And it grows, and then it has a flowering time. Whee! And the flowering time is when you actually feel like doing it. Like in the present, you feel like doing it now. That is the flower. It's flowered, and now is the time. Now everything is in alignment for you to do the thing, whatever the thing is, whether it's rest, whether it's looking up that course, or whether it's starting that business, or whether it's getting more into reading. Like, I don't know. Now is the best time to do it. Now the energy is all going in that way. Now the universe is with you, and there's almost going to be energy behind you like a sail helping you along with it. It's going to be the opposite sensation of swimming upstream. So you're really flowing with the universe, surfing with it, essentially, surfing the universal currents when you do it in the flowering time. Something to note with this: we can objectively know some things about ourselves. We can objectively know that, oh, I can see myself wanting something in the future. I can see that's definitely going to happen. And then for example, wanting to have kids. You might be someone who, like me, I definitely see myself as someone who wants to have kids in the future. Is that a calling that's present for me right now? No. So I'm not going to act on it now. But we can make the mistake sometimes of knowing that that's something we'll want in the future, acting on it too early. But it's not the flowering time yet. It's a little sprout and it's growing. When it flowers, that's when you do it. And you'll know when it flowers because you'll actually feel like doing it now, in the present. You'll actually kind of like, oh my God, you know what, I do want to get married now. You know what, I do. It will feel like now's the time. So shelve it until the pot plant flowers. Now do it. So that is essentially Intuition 101, what intuition actually is. So to kind of sum up everything and the most important points, intuition shows up as what you feel like doing. That's a calling, okay? And those feelings, they last for a couple months, and you should act on them. You really should. You need to understand the significance of them. You need to understand them to your intuition pointing this way. And your intuition is only points in the direction that is the quickest way to what you want, that is the most in alignment step for you. And it's just all round the best, most in alignment path. We got these two paths. If you're still operating according to the mind, having a 5-year plan, choosing goals for yourself that you think are a good idea, approaching everything like a curriculum, in a way, you're living from the mind, and most people do that. Most people have a set idea of what they think they want their life to look like, but they don't pay attention to what they actually feel like they want right now, and they don't listen to that, and they don't respond to that. And they're completely disconnected from it. And they do that other path, that mainstream kind of living from the mind path, because they think they'll get happiness and fulfillment at the end of that. When you can just go for happiness and fulfillment now by just doing what you want and feel like now. Trust me, this is the better way. And it is not going to look like what you think it should look like, and that's going to be something you're going to have to contend with. But have faith. I'm not the only one who talks about this concept. Like I said, follow your joy is a really big one. I think there's a woman called Beck. She also discovered this, and she's got courses and books all about, she calls it wayfinding. That's kind of the way, and that's where you experience flow, ease, where the universe doesn't feel like it's against you. There is one caveat though. While this is I would say a long video, I've only covered half the story of intuition. Because one thing is recognizing which direction you should go, recognizing which direction your emotional compass is pointing you in. And it's always pointing you in somewhere, okay? You're never lost, you just haven't learnt how to read the compass yet, but it is surprisingly easy to do, so you're in luck. But once you know which direction to go, then there's the matter of going there. And that means you have to contend with all your resistance to what it is you want, because obviously the reason you don't have something that you want or something that you feel like is because you've got some resistance to it, whether like some mental things you've got to work out, some esteem things, just whatever. You got something in the way of it, and that's what you have to do shadow work on in order to resolve the resistance so that you can attain it. So it's not exactly smooth sailing from here, okay? It's not just like you're going to just experience ease. You're not. You're going to have to put in the work now. But what you do have now is the way. You are not going to be lost anymore. And that is so much better than being lost. And that's where I was. That's where I was before. And I'm not lost anymore. And my path can be, difficult sometimes, but it is not difficult because I am lost. It is not difficult because I don't know the way. And that is such a blessing. So thank you for watching this video and coming to the end of it. I really hope that you got something helpful out of it, or some food for thought at least, something to consider. Just understand that what you feel like doing, what you want, is really significant, despite how it's been treated in the past by your parents growing up and basically everyone else who doesn't realize that it's significant. Understand it's significant and let yourself go in the direction of what you feel like. Let yourself enjoy that and let yourself go in the direction of what you want. And you'll see the difference it makes. Thank you.